Now, you are saying that it will place significant pressure on our economy. Why is that?
Because it will affect the tourism sector and also foreign executives working in South Africa, whether they are with business or with aid agencies. Aid agencies want their guys on the ground assessing whether the money is spent accurately or efficiently. They want their officials on the ground actually to give the capacity building or the skills training or whatever the case may be. Now, these officials are foreigners, and if their visa run out, they have to return to Germany or USA or England. And that breaks up the whole cycle.
Now, let's focus on some of the new immigration regulations. Let's take visa, for instance, visa renewals. How exactly is the visa renewal law going to affect South African businesses?
I think the problem is that a lot of South African businesses, especially the larger ones, depend on their a few foreign employees, specialists really, that's not available in South Africa. Also, there's a lot of investors living in South Africa who are not South African citizens, living on a visa. And if they are forced to go back to their country of origin,
it's an expense which they don't really have budgeted for, so to speak.
It's almost insulting because this person is bringing in money to South Africa. They are creating jobs, and now we are saying to them, well, go back to your country and reapply.
How did it work before? Could they reapply when they were still in South Africa?
Correct.
And that would have been acceptable.
Yes.
Right now they have to go back.
That's right.
Stay in their own country and then apply and get the visa approved.
That's correct.
So it is a process that can be hampering the entire value chain, so to speak.
Yeah, and I think it clashes with the government's plan or at least commitments towards cutting red tape. This is pure and simple red tape. It doesn't add any value anywhere.
Now, when it comes to tourism, what are the possible negative reactions that we could receive from the new traveling rules, so to speak?
Let's talk about the requirements for tourists traveling with children under the age of 18. They would need an unabridged birth certificate of that child. Now, according to the department, that's a way to stop child trafficking, and we recognize that it's a big problem and we need to fight it, but we don't feel that regulation is really going to work. Instead, it's going to hurt South Africa's tourism sector severely. Because if you're from China or South America or a country that doesn't speak English, you need to have a birth certificate in English. So you have to pay 1,000 rand, you have to wait 2 weeks. If you are planning a family holiday and this is the message that you get from South Africa, why would you come? You just go to Mozambique or Namibia or anywhere else in the world. So, we have a tourism sector that's really growing. Cape Town is an international city for tourism. So last year, December, we had excellent tourism figures. We should build on that. And that's a job creation.
So you're suggesting that we could lose foreign investors now?
Absolutely, and business. Remember that tourism, theoretically, is an export of services to the rest of the world. That's money that we get from the rest of the world, and we're losing that if we can't get people to visit us.
Now, our economy is already feeling strain. Is there a sense that the new regulations will not insist in boosting our economy? Because we are looking at the NDP really to boost our economy over long term. But is this going to hamper it even more?
No, absolutely. There's no question about it. It's definitely going to be bad for the tourism sector. It's definitely going to be bad for the cost of compliance for businesses, as you mentioned. While the benefits are very few, if any.
How will the small business in this country, the SMEs, how will they benefit or not benefit from this new regulation?
I think they are worst affected. So even though the multinationals are affected by not getting in their employees or the specialists, the SMEs in the tourism sector is going to be affected severely. Because if you lose a tour package, of people coming in from overseas, that's a quarter worth of income. Now you have to scramble to get another package somewhere or make ends meet. It's really bad for a sector that shows so much promise.
So what you are saying is that the sector will feel it right down the value chain, even up until the bed and breakfast, the small little bed and breakfast in your little town, the tour operator that's supposed to take these people around and show them their little town. Everybody is going to be impacted on this. From
your multinationals, from Sun International with the nice hotels, to the guys starting up their bed and breakfast at the back of the yard, everybody is going to be impacted.
Is there solutions or possible solutions that the department should consider or look at, or is this the final plan on the table?
No, I think
regulations are in place.
That's a great question, and I think we should work together with government in finding solutions. We have raised this issue now, and it's in the public domain as we're discussing it here. We also want to discuss it with the ANC. We are setting up bilateral engagements with the Secretary General. So we believe that there's a few design issues to this. You know, you can still have the protection of the law. You can still stop all the bad stuff happening. We can still ensure that South Africa is safe from foreigners who want to, you know, do bad stuff in this country. But let's have a balanced regulation.
Let's look at some of those possible solutions, especially the major ones, such as visa control. What would be your suggestion there?
Well, I think we should return to the old system where you can apply for the visa in country rather than having to go overseas first. That's a huge cost, and I don't think everybody will want to come back to South Africa if they have to face that cost. And then with the child, I think there's a look, I'm not as familiar with all the migration issues, but I think, you know, the insistence on an unabridged birth certificate is not really a safe way to stop child trafficking in any case. You know, if you're a hardcore criminal, you can falsify that in any way. So it's not going to stop you.
And what else can the department do to make this even better? Because, I mean, you know, as you indicated earlier, we are a tourism destination. We're probably the only country where you can go to the sea, you can go to the mountains, you can see the wild, you can see a desert, you can see everything in one country. And yet we want to do something that is not conducive to tourism.
You know, when a foreigner thinks of South Africa, they think of that. They think of our rich legacy and Mandela's impact on the rest of the world. We also want them to think of, here is a country that's easy to get into if you're a tourist. It's easy to fill in the forms, a helpful desk, the crime at the tourist sites are low. That's the kind of message we want to send out to the rest of the world, because that sells South Africa. If a guy goes to the South African consulate and now they have all these red tape and papers that they have to fill in, they're just going to say, forget about it, let's go to India or wherever. Are these regulations in place already as we speak? Or yes, they are. Yes. And with your discussions now with the department, that might change? We hope so. We hope so. And I mean, this is born. This press release we sent out is born from discussions we had with SMEs, with multinationals across the range. So the problem is happening. Interestingly, though, it's not everybody is not affected immediately, because as your visa is terminated or expires, you're going to be affected. So it's kind of there's going to be a critical mass along the way. Pietman Roos, thank you so much for your time and coming into AM. Thank you. That was Pietman Roos. He is the policy consultant from SACCI. He was talking to us about the impact of the new immigration regulations from the Department of Home Affairs on our economy.